I have with me Rajeev Chaba, the President and Managing Director with MG Motor India, and Hormazd Sorabjee, the Editor for Autocar India. Gentlemen, good morning and thanks so much for taking out time and joining us this morning on ET Now. Let me start off, Rajeev, with you first. You have a decently good presence in the SUV segment. You're relatively new in India as well. How have you seen, since your entry, I think we'll have to sort of discount the last 1 odd year because the trends have been very exceptional. But how do you see the SUV market in India? It's a relatively more higher price segment compared to, a hatchback or a sedan. But what have you observed?
So hi, good morning. I think, we need to look at the global trends and Indian trends, and I think you will see a lot of alignment. Globally, if you look around, the SUV segments have been doing well since last 5 or 6 years, and there is a year-on-year substantial growth in that segment, again, in all the top 20 markets in the world. Now, if you come back to India, again, the trend was visible, I would say 3-4 years back, and I'm sure you know that you can't just plan a product and launch tomorrow. This takes a lot of gestation period. So this trend has been visible, I would say, since last 3 or 4 years back, and that's why then you are seeing plethora of SUVs in the segment. And the reasons are, I think, ease of entry exit, some demographic issues, and some psychological issues, because I think you need to look tough, and there is a need to sit at a higher up. The seat position is higher up, and also, as I said, maybe I would like to say that because of all the whole fitness issues and things like that, there is a shift in psychologically, to go for SUV, in my opinion.
Well, I would like to add the best benefit of SUVs, and that's the good ground clearance, which is very much a necessity in a country like India. Hi, Hormazd. Good morning. Robust demand, really. I think this has been one of the best categories if we look at the auto sale numbers in the last couple of months. Now, especially post-COVID, we saw a lot of first-time owners entering the SUV market. What do you think prompted that? Firstly, at a time when, you have this fear, right, of purchasing, of making discretionary purchases, and secondly, the fact that this is any which way is relatively more high priced.
Well, I just like to say that, to be honest, the discretionary purchases during COVID weren't there. Going out, enjoying yourself, going on holidays, shopping, all that had stopped. But I think a car ceased to be a discretionary purchase, and it ceased to be a kind of a important purchase, something that you needed to have. And I think, overall, people feel there's a need of safety, security, more so now with a car than it has been ever before. So people want to indulge themselves. I think probably they're getting into segments that would have earlier been beyond their budgets. Now they are spending a bit more. They've also saved some money, I think, in the last 1.5 years. So that definitely is there. And then, of course, there are all the reasons why SUVs are still booming. And I think there are multiple reasons for that. One, of course, we know is that it is the preferred body style, ground clearance, road presence, practicality, easy to drive. Many years ago, SUVs were big and heavy to drive. Now they're like cars to drive. And I think what we need to even see more importantly from the manufacturer side, it's a much easier entry into the market for even players like MG and even Kia, because SUVs, there's a stronger business case for it. There are better margins on it, and there is still a demand for it. So that's what is happening. Everyone's jumping into SUVs, which is also making the market explode. No one's getting into hatchbacks anymore. I mean, that's now become sort of Maruti's turf. And, people are just staying away from that area. And even sedans also are not as strong as SUVs were. So really multiple reasons also why, we've seen this boom in SUVs.
Rajiv, the new launches in the SUV market remind me of the kind of intense competition we saw in the entry car market or the small car market couple of years ago. Everybody tried their hand, only few survived, and Maruti flourished. What happens after 3 years in the SUV market? It's a great aspirational place to be in, higher margins, excitement, mobility. Everybody wants to be there. But in a market like India, can you have 6-7 car players coming up with multiple launches, and can all of them survive? Rajiv?
Yeah. So actually, Nikunj, if you look at it, globally again, that in the top markets, except one or two markets, there are 4 or 5 players with market share of, 60-70%. In India, if you look at the car market, so far it has been only Hyundai and Maruti garnering 70% market share. But if you look at the sub-segments, I think first time in mid-size SUV segment, you're going to get 5-6 players. And actually sub 4-meter SUV segment also, there are already 5-6 players. So I think definitely there is competition. But for the size of the Indian market, we are talking about 3 million or so, hopefully by end of this year or definitely next year. That's a pretty big size. So 5 or 6 players in a segment, frankly, it's not an issue. Yes, I think maybe players had forgotten to compete. Now I think with intense competition, I think you are going to see the best, and it's a good thing for consumers anyway.
Hormazd, I'll take a leaf from your answer and perhaps add one more angle to it, which is that SUVs are affordable now and SUVs are much lighter. But the Indian customer, Hormozd, was always, the mindset of Indian customer is Sasta Sundar Tikau, a value conscious customer. An Indian customer is someone who is migrating from a two-wheeler to car. Suddenly I'm a bit surprised that SUV is like, Indians have jumped a generation. It's like saying that from in your house you don't have a TV but you have a mobile phone as your second screen.
So, I think the point here is that we have always been value conscious, and will remain value conscious, and it's very different from being price conscious. What you're referring to is what was cheap sold. So at about 20 years ago, or even not that far back, even 10 years ago, the cheapest car was always the best selling car. So that's when you were in a price conscious mindset. But now everyone doesn't mind spending more if they see value in it. And again, that's where the SUV plays a lot. It's perceived, the value perception of the body style of an SUV is far higher than any other body style. That's why manufacturers also get juicy margins on SUVs. You take MPVs, for example, same product, identical features, performance, everything, MPV versus SUV, the value perception of an MPV will be much lower, and customers will not pay so much for an MPV. Similarly for hatchbacks. So, it's this whole body style hierarchy which is actually determining the structure of the market. And SUVs being the most aspirational, there's the maximum value attached to it. So I think the answer really is we continue to be value conscious, maybe not price conscious.
Hormazd, one is already seeing that a slew of companies are, getting their SUVs in the pipeline. How hot could this segment really get in the times to come?
Well, the SUV segment is, divided, as we know. I think the hottest segment right now is the subcompact or sub 4-meter SUV space. To be honest, I think that is getting a bit saturated. We have about 13 models maybe by the end of next year. You've got Tata launching the Hornbill that will add to it. Then you've got Citroen coming in with one. So there's going to be 12-13 models. Very, very crowded space. And the other disadvantage is that sub 4 meters, basically a body style for India. So you don't get global scale. I think where the action really is in the segment above, which is a bit more expensive, but there's a lot more breathing space. That segment is dominated right now by Creta and Seltos. You've got others who've come in, Kushaq, Taigun. I think Rajeev is also going to be entering that segment. He may not want to say it right now, but he's also got a model lined up over there. And I think that really is the sweet spot right now, because you can even bring in global models, because most global SUVs are above 4 meters. And the margins are pretty decent. And even though the overall volume may be smaller, the market share for each one will be higher. So for individual companies, volumes could be pretty good there as well.
Rajiv, would you want to come in here or keep your lips sealed? Or should I just change my question to how is it that you're going to survive and stand out in this space, which, like Hormazd mentioned, it's pretty crowded out there? Do you think customers would go for brand? Is it more, price effectiveness that they're going to be looking at this time?
On the first part, I would say Hormazd is the guru, so I listen to him. I won't say anything. On the other hand, see this whole thing about the size of the car, the shape of the car, the seating position, the ground clearance, and also the feeling that you can choose 5, 6, or 7 seater. Sometimes in that size, you have 7-seater options too. So it gives the feeling of largeness and the value consciousness, as Hormazd was saying. But actually, this is not only India-specific trend. This is a global trend, and I think this has to do with the general psychology of consumers globally, in which, I would like to believe it has something to do with the health and fitness kind of a thing. Ease of entry and exit plays a very important role, and also you get more value for the buck. So now, in terms of competition, I would say that this is becoming a challenge right now, and I think you need to differentiate. And I personally feel that there are certain issues which are going to become the hygiene points, which is like horsepower and fuel efficiency and torque. This is price of entry now. I think you need to do something more than that. And that's what technology comes in. So if you look at globally now, people are talking about the connected car, people are talking about hybrid powertrains, you're talking about something more as services and subscriptions. I don't want to say everything today. We are doing our tech even tomorrow, so hopefully we can reveal something tomorrow. But you need to differentiate your product to really compete in these kind of segments now.
So closing comments, Rajeev, I go back to this entire SUV market once again. Some are trying to differentiate with design, some are differentiating with the tech they will have in the car, and some are differentiating with price. What will be the differentiating factor for a value conscious customer who wants to buy an SUV but does not want to pay higher because ultimately वो Indian है?
So, I think in our industry, in auto industry, it's very difficult to say, and I keep saying this, that you say, what are the 3 or 4 important things? The value chain is so intense and complicated that you need to get everything right from, raw material pricing to competitive benchmarking for manufacturing to, features of the car, the shape of the design of the car, technology in the car, then cost of ownership, and then resale price. So the value chain, as I call it, R2R, raw material till the resale of the price is resale of the car is important. Having said that, I think you need to stand for something. So unique differentiation is important for every car, and I feel there are certain things given now in this segment. So you need to do more than certain obvious, which we have been doing in the industry so far.
Okay, I'm going to ask this question to both the gentlemen, and anyone can answer it, but I want both of them to answer. I will not hold it against you, Rajeev or Hormazd, but are we in for a good festival season demand post the second wave? Almost 10 seconds to answer this one. Rajeev, I'm coming to you after this.
Well, I don't know. In today's world, you can't predict what's happening next week. So I don't know, festival season. But I think, honestly, Nikunj, it depends on the third wave, whether it's going to happen or not happen. But let's take a best case scenario that, things are improving. I think definitely we're going to see a big boom. There is an appetite for more mobility. I think what we are seeing is that people who would, after 100 kilometers of travel, take a flight instead of a car, are now extending that to 300-400 kilometers. I think a car is becoming more and more important as a form of mobility and personal mobility. That is definitely there, and I think here to stay. I think people are going to be a little still scared when things open up of the way they travel. I think the kind of security that a car gives, that's very strong, and I think all these factors are going to be driving demand as we move along to better times and the festive period. So I think yes, we're looking for a pretty solid festive period.
Rajeev, I have to take a break in exactly 30 seconds, and there's an SUV ad, so which I definitely don't want to skip. So 30 seconds to answer this one. Are we in for a good festival season sales this time?
I think answer is yes. And there is a lot of pent-up demand, revenge buying, and YOLO factor. People want to spend. And there are a lot of travel within the country. So that will lead to huge demand generation. Unfortunately, there is supply constraints because of chip shortages. So will industry be able to supply? That's a question mark right now. But still, if we do well, we'll go close to 2019. We may not hit the peak yet. So peak still has to come in India.
Well, we leave it at that. All the best, gentlemen. Rajeev, to you as you prepare for the festive season, for the peak as well, which we hope will come very soon, or the rise in sales, which we hope will come very soon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.